data, the methods, or the expertise of just one community. You need to combine. But here's where really reality kicks in. Most research data still lives in disciplinary silos. I'm not saying silos, I'm saying disciplinary silos. Because it's not because anyone is doing something wrong. It's quite the opposite, because each community has now built excellent catalogs, vocabularies, standards for itself. And rightly so, because they know their own data best. The result is that researchers from neighboring fields rarely know these resources exist, let alone how to access them. For example, a climate scientist doesn't routinely browse the SSH catalog, the Social Sciences and Humanities catalog. A mathematician does not routinely browse the Earth observation portals. But the data is there, but the discovery is broken. This is the idea behind. And this is important. The answer is not to merge everything into a one giant catalog. We have already some initiative trying to do to working on that, and it could work regarding some aspects. But in Lumen, we are trying another way, also because this approach, I mean, building one giant catalog, does not scale. And also, it doesn't really respect community ownership. So that's exactly what the LUMEN Data Mesh is built for. We are trying to find another answer. We want to make community-owned data fundable across boundaries without forcing anyone to give up control. This is the idea behind. I propose to you to explore together this approach through this workshop and through the prototype I will share with you in a few minutes. That's why now let me open the door regarding the project itself and then the LUMEN Data Mesh. But first of all, let me introduce very quickly what is Lumen. Lumen is a Horizon project, EU funded, coordinated by CNRS in France. It runs from 2025 to 2027. So we are right now we are past the first year. We are 19 partners and affiliated entities from 9 countries, including the UK. And the UK, sorry, plus the UK. And the core idea is to build a federated ecosystem to empower interdisciplinary data discovery and reuse, and to plug into EOSC, which is our European Open Science Cloud. So federation, EOSC, interdisciplinarity, 3 keywords, which is our main focus for all the partners you can see on this slide on the right, involved in this 3 years project. In terms of objective and key contribution, Lumen has 4 strategic objectives. And the spirit is the following. First, we want to create a shared cross-disciplinary discovery space for the next generation EOSC. So the next project, the next component, the next users. Second, we are trying to enhance qualitative discovery through innovative features. I will share with you some concrete examples regarding these features. Third, we want to support fair by design research outputs. And fourth, support the early stages of the research lifecycle, because discovery does not only happen at publication time, not at all. It happens when you are still framing your assumption and hypothesis. And to deliver this objective, we contribute mainly 5 concrete things to EOSC: a white label discovery platform, a data mesh architectural framework. This is the purpose for today. We are also building LUMIS, which is our infrastructure for semantics, a set of AI-enhanced services, and of course, a progress integration path into the EOSC Federation. And to do it, we are working closely with communities, scientific communities, and to be more accurate, for communities. Very deliberately chosen because they are as different from each other as possible. We have mathematics, which is a fundamental disciplines with rigorous methods and tools. We have the social sciences and humanities, with the acronym SSH. I will use it several times, so that's why I prefer to introduce it now. Through culture, language, society, ethics of AI, public policy, molecular dynamics for the physical sciences aspect, numerical simulation of atomic interaction, and also earth systems for the biodiversity, climate, ocean, environment, climate projection, etc. And these communities have very different data, very different vocabularies, culture of sharing. And that's precisely the point. If we can federate these four, we can federate almost anything. Just to summarize a little bit the objective. But that's why we are working a lot and closely with them. They are our stress test. Few words about the genesis of LUMEN. Some of you may know Go Triple, which is the multilingual SSH discovery platform built between 2019 and 2023 in the Triple project. And that was the seed. LUMEN takes that single community discovery layer and extend it. Same kind of platform for our system, also for molecular dynamics. And we keep upgrading the SSH side. But the key change here is the architecture. Instead of 3 separate platforms with 3 separate catalogs, everything is now organized through a data mesh. That's the architectural shift I want to dig into now. LUMEN very simply fits into 2 core concepts. One, a data mesh, which is a federated data exchange space among the communities. I mean, each community keeps full ownership and governance, but exposes its data in a shared and interoperable way. And secondly, LUMEN is a shared toolbox with 8 innovative tools that ride on top of that mesh to make discovery easy, multilingual, and intelligent. And today, we focus mainly on the first, the mesh itself. And we will touch on 2 specific tools, especially today, the Meta-Search, during the live walkthrough with the prototype. But of course, if you want to dig into all the architecture details, all the components, you have some links through the LUMEN portal. So, what makes LUMEN a data mesh? 5 principles. Decentralized. We don't want a central master catalog. We don't want a monolithic platform. Each community runs its own corner of the mesh. Cross-domain. The whole point is that the mesh allows data from one community to be discovered, understood, and reused by another community. Autonomous, and this is critical. Each community keeps full sovereignty over its data, its vocabularies, its policies. Joining the mesh does not mean handing anything over. Fair by design, findable, accessible, interoperable, reusable, built it from the start, not retrofitted. And the last one is modular and flexible. Communities don't have to expose everything at once. They can grow their participation over time, and new communities can join later without breaking the existing mesh. These 5 principles are not just nice slogans. We will see how each of them is done first, draw 2 concepts, which are data products and data contract, but I will explain in the next slide. But very quickly, before a quick view of the toolbox, we have 8 tools sit on top of the mesh. The Meta-Search Engine, which is a federated search across the communities, the one we will demo today. LUMIS, or Unified Platform for Semantic Artifact, a chatbot, which is the component used for natural language interaction, a software catalog, some data visualization tools, a modular LaTeX tools, and metrics for monitoring discovery platform. All these components are built on top also on the previous platform, which is Go Triple. Now the white label platform used to be instantiated through the communities. This is another key component, which is not the focus for today, the white label platform, but another key major development in this initiative. So now we get to the heart of the architecture. So let's read this diagram together, left to right. I will explain how is built this data mesh. On the left, you have what every community already produces. I mean, scientific resources. For example, research literature, author profiles, software, semantic artifacts, multimedia assets. Also data sets, media object, this kind of things. Whatever your community works with on a daily basis. These resources exist today in the community catalogs, in the community repositories. The mesh changes nothing about them. Now, the key move. Out of all these resources, a community selects and structures a meaningful subset and turns it into a data product. A data product is one of more scientific resources scoped, exposed, and governed as a single discoverable unit. So where we are not federating resources on the left, and we are federating curated intentional bundles that the community itself has decided to expose. When the data product is defined, it's made available through a data source that is simply where the product is technically accessible. It could be an API, a service, a registry. The data source is the doorway. And there, pinning all of this, on the right, you have the data contract. This is the piece that makes the whole architecture work. The contract does two things at once. It encapsulates governance and responsibilities for the data product. Who owns it, who maintains it, under which license, with what SLA, and it formalizes the structure, the access, and the update policy of the data source. So the contract sits at the junction of the product and its access point. It's the rule book that travels with the data. So just to conclude, 3 objects to remember: resources, data product, and data contract. Resources are what you already have. The data product is what you choose to expose. The data contract is how you govern that exposure. This is mainly the data mesh. But of course, then we are using some standard to do it. Just to share with you this diagram to explain, we are doing this also with standard, and also because we have to be integrated with EOSC, following the existing standard promoted by the European level. So of course we are working on this aspect, and today I won't dive into the details of the model, but just to mention it quickly, on the left, we are just introducing these 2 objects, data contract and data product. That's all. All the other model already used, deployed in your community, in the communities, it's out of scope of LUMEN. Data sources, entities, resources, it's already managed by different standards. It's not the purpose for today. This is also why we are trying to federate without any change. We are not here to impose or to share some obligation regarding this model. Okay, so now let's look at how this plays out in practice across our 4 communities. What you see on this slide is real. I mean, these are the data products our 4 communities are exposing to the mesh, are trying to expose. This is the plan. We have already some of them for the prototype I will share with you. We still have to clarify the roadmap regarding the data product, but it will be something close to this diagram. For mathematics, through partners like ZBMatOpen and Centre Mersenne, we have data product on scientific publication, software, mathematic formulae, author profile. We are working on this kind of scientific resources. For our system, with our partners from Dataterra, for example, we are working on data catalog aggregator, semantic artifact registry, research software catalog, open research publication. For molecular dynamics, we have some publication metadata, author profile, simulation datasets, files, software, etc. And of course, for SSH with Go Triple, we have some aggregated research project, publication, and profiles, each one with its own contract. So we are currently working on that contract together on these federation rules, but this is the idea. And in the middle, you have a space of high interoperability where the discovery infrastructure, thanks to the meta-search, the chatbot, the white label platform, connects to all data products through their contract without any common component tools or any common models, because we just have all the required information through the data contract and through the data products. So this is what the mesh looks like in real life. For today, for real life, I mean the real identified sources, and we are working on it currently. So just to be a little bit more concrete, for those who are thinking, okay, but this sounds nice, but what does my community actually have to do to join? So for the moment, here is the practical answer. 2 things. 1, you have to expose your data products through an API. We don't need your data or your metadata. We need a clear, queryable description of your existing resource collections. That description follows a standard here, which is DPROD, which is the data product ontology, a model based on DCAT, which is a common standard with concepts like dataset, distribution, data service. Once you publish that endpoint, your data product is findable across the federation. And 2, you have to attach a data contract to each data product. We don't need a lawyer. We need a clear machine readable. We need clear and machine readable rules. It's 1 YAML file per data product in a standard format, which is here ODCS, Open Data Contract Standard, describing who owns it, who curates it, under which license. What is, for example, the update frequency, the retention period, the quality, etc. And that's it. 2 things. And important, we are using shared standard. So it's not Lumen specific ones. So now let me introduce what is a cross-domain use case to explain what we are able now to discover thanks to this approach. And it will be also for me an introduction for the demo. Before we look at example, quick agreement on what cross-domain actually means, because it's a word we use a lot, but it's not always with the same meaning. In Lumen, a use case, it's generally cross-domain when it has at least one of these 4 dimensions. It's one of the first dimension is about multi-source discovery. I mean, finding results across more than one community. interdisciplinary connection, linking concept, author, project, resources from different fields. Unexpected serendipity. Of course, this is a key objective for us to surface results you would not normally search for, but that turn out to matter. And of course, we are trying to do it for something concrete and useful. That's why the fourth one is about real-world problem solving, addressing a challenge that needs input from multiple domains. But let me share with you a concrete example. This one is a concrete cross-domain use case we are trying to address. For example, this one is about a researcher in environmental health studying the impact of microplastic on coastal populations. Today, this question lies in three completely separate worlds. I will need to go to a molecular dynamics catalog for plastic compound degradation simulations, then to a Earth system catalog for marine transport models, then to a SSH catalog for policy documents and public health studies. So thanks to the data mesh, this researcher can find a data product on molecular interaction simulation, modeling plastic compound degradation in seawater. He connects it with a climate-driven marine transport model from Earth system, and he will try to trace mention of those compounds in policy documents and public health studies from the SSH community. The combination lets him build a transdisciplinary risk assessment model spanning molecules, movement, and meanings. So 3 communities for 1 research question. A second example with a different angle for our climate modeler. We want to test a new stochastic downscaling method to generate regional temperature scenarios for the next 30 years. The math he needs exists, but in the math community, especially, he needs a Markov random field model. That model has a publication, software code, parameter settings, all sitting in mathematical catalogs. He rarely browses. With Lumen, the idea of the federated search will be to surface this data product directly in his Earth systems data context, including its publication, its code, its parameter, and he applies it to reanalyze the data set he is already working with. So the result will be he assets uncertainty ranges, he improves the revision of his impact projection, and crucially, he cites the mathematical paper that nobody in his community will find otherwise. And just one last example before to share with you the prototype. More unusual, a digital humanities scholar studying how new scientist concepts emerge across disciplines. The kind of meta question that traditional search doesn't even let you ask. Through Lumen, this scholar will find a data product linking simulation dataset of spike protein folding to the publication that fits them. And the publication includes authors from both biophysics and philosophy of science. That is already an unusual connection. And it traces how the concept of emergence travels between domains, supported by actual computational experiments. So he built a corpus of semantic, social, and experimental linkage, a new way to study this sociology of scientific knowledge. This is here, more or less, the serendipity dimension I have mentioned earlier, and a key objective we are trying to achieve through with the team in the Lumen project. So now I will share with you an example, a prototype. This prototype is based on a key component in the federation, which is the Meta-Search. The Meta-Search engine is a tool. The Meta-Search is not just a search bar. It's the backbone of cross-platform, cross-domain discovery. It's more or less a demonstrator for us for the data mesh. um, it, the component that consume data product from every community and surface them through a single discovery experience without ever centralizing the data. Of course, technically speaking, the purpose for today is not to share with you this detail, but feel free to ask anything regarding how we are doing that. But this is the idea, to suffice them without ever centralizing these resources. So now let me share with you this prototype. So I will now switch
before you go to the prototype, just a moment to pause and to if you allow me to ask a question. You say on one of the slides what to produce to join the LUMEN Data Mesh, and I was curious. In this project, we're working with specific communities. So we have mathematics, molecular dynamics, social science and humanities based on Go Triple. And of course, we have, which one did I left out? Earth System Sciences. When you say what to produce and you're talking about we as communities, is this possible for any, let's say, I'm going to say a random here, something from physics community? Would it be possible, for example, to expose their data through the approach that you described in our community? And if yes, what would be like your ideal process to do that in terms of who would they need to contact? How would they start this process, or what do we need to discuss in order for this to happen?
Okay, so let me try to answer. First of all, the idea is to, technically speaking, we are trying to find a very simpler way to be technically federated with an API, a compliant one, to expose the data product, and then a data contract for each of the data products. That's all. So it's something very light. Of course, you have to find all the data, I mean, the properties, the information required by this two concept, but that's all. And it's something more or less easy. You don't have to build something else on your side. Then, with the other partners, we are building the federation with a kind of rule book, the governance side. So, of course, it's not when you have this element, you have to share this element with the federation. So we are working on this rule book together to identify how is this, what is the proper way to organize this federation together, because the federation, of course, a key, the federation will be flexible and definitively it's designed to be extended easily. We are working on its elasticity. That's why now we have to find to write this rule book in order to let any community interested by the project to join as soon as possible. And it's also why, and I will share it also through the prototype, why we are also trying to building this data mesh with communities outside the current project to test the extensibility of this approach.
Amazing, thank you. Because I was just thinking about while you were describing everything, I just saw a complementarity with another project I will share with you offline when it comes to it. So maybe we can connect and liaise with them to see, because they have a lot of, the Oscars project, they have a lot of mini funding, or let's say, they provided funding for so many projects. And I think a lot of them are doing very nice work to make the data interoperable, findable, fair in many ways. So I would really be curious to see if we could also engage with these communities, because they have nice different communities from ours as well in terms of disciplines, to just see if there is like appetite or interest in working with us. That was just my my curiosity from that point. So thank you very much, Julian. So I will let you get on with the second part, unless there are any questions in the chat, which I don't see any. So please go ahead.
Okay, so now I will share with you now my prototype. So I will stop this sharing. Okay. And I will open the other one. This one. Okay. So okay, desktop. Okay. Would you see my browser now? Okay. So let me introduce this prototype. First of all, this is something currently running on my laptop, as you can see here. So this is something real. This is not a PowerPoint, but it's not something already public or deployed in our current environment. The first alpha release of this meta-search is currently on progress for the next month. But anyway, it's enough for me to share with you today something more concrete than this abstract concept. Also, before to dive into the details, this is a website. I mean, this is the Meta-Search website. This is a demonstrator, but it's not our main plan in terms of integration. The first plan to integrate the Meta-Search is also to let the communities integrate the Meta-Search itself as a component or as an endpoint in their own discovery platform, in their own component. For example, we are working with ZBMatopen in order to let them to include some suggestion based on the federation directly in their own portal. For example, if they are working, if an user is discovering a resource through the ZBMatopen portal, a suggestion could be notified saying that, okay, regarding this use case and following the Lumen Federation, you have also some scientific resources close to this use case. You can so then jump from the ZBMatopen platform, so from this mathematics community to another one. So this is a website, but we have also in mind the integration patterns to develop, and it will be a key usage for us to be directly integrated inside a community, because it's also a key principle of the mesh. We don't want to build a centralized website. It's another way to say it. Then, as you can see here, we have already some statistics, so I will try to zoom a little bit. This prototype is built on 7 data products through 6 communities. It's real because I already mentioned before we have only 4 communities, but we are trying to extend the data mesh with some new communities to stress test the elasticity of the federation, exactly what we discussed just before with Fotis. But we have more than 5 communities also, because we are still also trying to work on this alignment between communities, disciplines, organization. We have to clarify exactly what is a community. It's also an open question. And also because, for example, we have multidisciplinary communities. So how are we able to manage this? Some other open question to share with you. 7 data products through 2,500 resources. And we have also here a technical term, which is vectors. Just to mention it, behind the scene, we are using a statistical approach. We are building a common semantic space based on vectorization, based on embeddings. It's very useful in our case because you don't have to have the same data model between the communities to explore this semantic space. We are working on vectors, and these vectors are enough for us to build cluster and to identify the use case. But again, I won't dive into the technical details for today, but feel free to ask me anything during the second part of this presentation. Okay, so then, as you can see, some already involved communities and data product. Before to share with you the use cases, I will open the data product tab to understand better what are the current harvested data product. And again, just before, as you can see here, we have two tabs, which are the use cases and also the data product. That's all. I mean, it's not a discovery platform. We are not here trying to build another search engine for our community or for scientific resources. Not at all. It's just about data product use cases in order to jump between the communities. And that's all. Then, in terms of data product, as you can see here, we have several data products. I will start with the already introduced communities. So we have some review from Centre Mersenne in France, but not only related to math, but only for regarding geosciences, biology, chemistry. Centre Mersenne is exactly the good example for us regarding cross-disciplinary communities. So yeah, and Centre Mersenne is a data source. The communities behind is math, but just to share with you the clarification we are trying to do. Then we have from Earth System the NTEP in order to collect from this community some data sets about seismology, meteorology, climate, and so on. Some simulation from the MDverse, which is the data source from molecular dynamics, one of the data source, of course. We have also Sextin from the same community, Earth, Go Triple for the sciences, the social sciences and humanities with Go Triple, as you can see here. Some publication from ZBMat Open. And then we have also the new one, which is Recherche Data Gouv in France, where we are trying to also estimate the effort which could be for an external community to join. So, of course, we are trying to estimate the effort for the already involved communities and also for the external ones to work on this rule book also to be more accurate regarding my answer for you for this. Okay, so then as you can see here, this data product are made thanks to a data product endpoint. So it's something like this at the end. For example, for Centre Mersenne, this is a simple JSON format with some required information for us. And for example, here, some descriptions, but of course, all the information we need to retrieve the scientific resources. Because to build the vectors, we need to explore the scientific resources, of course. And then, but that's all. We will, of course, centralize some vectors because we need to centralize something to share today this demo, but at the end, we could also have some shared databases, some federated databases regarding this vector. But at the end, we just need this information from the communities, and we are working to some extensions to help to let the communities help us to explore better the resources because, of course, there are some differences between the communities. Some properties are more relevant depending on the communities. Sometimes we have strong maturity regarding some vocabulary, some standards. So it's we can reuse some keywords thanks to it to improve the exploration between the vectors. Of course, we are using all this information to help us, especially when we are using some common properties between the communities to improve this exploration. I mean, abstract, title, author, keywords, when they are available. But that's all. At the end, it will be just this something like this. That's why it's light and it's built by design. It's a key principle for us to let the community join the mesh easily. And that's all for this quick introduction regarding the data product. And then let me open the most important tab for my demonstration for today, which is the cross-domain use cases identified for the moment. So as you can see here, we have identified 22 cross-domain use cases. In fact, 20, but 1% from the total of resources. it's only 20, but from another angle, it's already 20. I mean, initially, we thought that we will have zero result regarding this few amount of resources. But thanks to the first algorithm in place, we have already detected some cross-domain use cases. What is a cross-domain use case in this example? This is a card like this with a title, an explanation. Here we are trying to explain how we built and why we built this match. So, for example, here, the first resource discusses the importance of training on soil organic carbon, when the second resource focuses on community engagement in waste management. So both emphasize the role of communities in implementing sustainable practices related to organic materials. So just to try to explain to the end user why this match. And then, of course, we are trying to identify the audience regarding which the target researcher profiles which could be interested by this result. And also we are trying to explain with an important side regarding transparency, how it's happened. So we are highlighting the bridging concept. And also we are trying to explain in details the match between these two data product, especially through which data set or which scientific resources. And here you can see, thanks to this report, this data set from Research Data Guru, and thanks to this publication and research, and based on this analysis regarding entities, methods, location, and of course, based on the content itself, we identify a bridge between this two resources, these two data products, in order to rank this cross-domain use cases. Of course, we have a lot of mechanism behind to be accurate, to be relevant, and to be confident regarding this exposure of this use case. And now we are working a lot with the communities, with the expert, to say if it's really relevant or not. And the first feedback we receive is it's relevant, and it sometimes of course has to be improved. Sometimes it has to be improved a lot, but regarding the current phase we are in the project, it's already encouraging in terms of perspective. Let me introduce the second one, which is about biochar production from date palm residues. I like this one because this is a particularly strong bridge between two Mediterranean studies on the same agricultural waste stream. I mean, date palm residues. The first resource on the Earth Systems side is the Spanish dataset studying how date palm biochar on compost affect water retention in semi-arid sandy soils. I'm not an expert, but I'm trying to explain. And the second from Centre Mersenne is a Moroccan publication optimizing this pyrolysis process to produce bio-oil on biochar from data stones using a specific experimental design. And here the connection is direct and operational. The Moroccan team work upstream. How do you efficiently turn stones into biochar? And the Spanish team works downstream. Once you have the biochar, how does it improve soils? And together, they describe the full value chain from agricultural residue to soil amendment into North Mediterranean context where that time cultivation is significant. And here, as soil scientists, applying biochar in arid region immediately benefit from knowing this optimal pyrolysis parameter. A chemist, for example. So yeah, just and this is something automatically detect on thanks to the meta search, but fully based on this data mesh approach, on this data product, and the information provided by the communities themselves. And that's all for the moment. So of course, we have a lot. We are working on different functionalities, features to improve the discoverability user experience, the user experience regarding this discoverable component, filtering by communities, by confidence, by target profiles. But at the end, it will be also the idea is to jump, for example, directly from this communities to this one, thanks to this kind of link. So this is kind of graph. You can also see something like this, because again, we are just building some links, and that's all. But new links, I mean semantic links. And that's all for me.
Julien, there is one comment in the chat by Uni.
Yes.
That says there is a comment from my colleague at ZB Math regarding the use case that perhaps we should at least aim to involve documents from ZB Math that link to ideally open mathematical software at our side. And they give an example, obviously at least relevant to environmental and earth sciences, where we could argue that it could lead to recommendation which math model plus software could be used to address a problem. Just, I don't know if you had this feedback before, but this is now for your one for your records.
Thanks a lot. Thank you, Uni. Of course, as usual, is very interesting, and these inputs are very useful for us. So let's discuss it. And thanks again. I will use it for sure. So for this, that's all for me for this presentation.
Thank you. Thank you. Are there, so Leah, I see raised your hand.
Yep. Yes, Julien, I'm curious, what is the confidence indicator on top of the use cases?
Okay. For the moment, it's just a score based on a lot of things. We are trying to explain in this tab the competition details, how we are doing that. But let me explain very quickly. Of course, I already mentioned the common semantic space to do it, thanks to some vectors, I mean embeddings. So we are using here some statistical approaches to compute this score, but not only. We are using also a classic search score regarding the metadata provided by the community, the common ones at least, because it's also very useful to clarify, to improve the relevance of the cross-domain use cases, definitively. Then also, we are trying to extract some key information from the resources during the exploration. I mean, the entities, as you can see here, and entities, location, methods, because we are in a scientific context. So we are trying to extract scientific methods to cross better the resources, also the location, and also the period. And we are working on last one, which is the scope, because sometimes we had some matches between a huge catalog and a very specific article. Already included in the catalog, but it's not relevant because it's at different scale, and we have to exclude this kind of thing. But just to conclude, this score is the total of all this of this treatment before. We compute a score. This is the score, and then we apply a threshold, and a very high threshold because we have a lot of noise before, and of course we still have to identify the right threshold to do it. And of course, it's a very innovative challenge we are trying to address. I mean, find some cross-domain use cases without any common data model. And that's why we are working closely with the communities. And also, we need this relevant feedback as this one from Uni to improve, to understand better if it works or not. And we are working on a POC all this year with the communities before to scale, but already with this subset of cross-domain use cases to improve before to scale with a lot of data product and resources. I don't know if is it clear for you, Leah? I'm answering your question. Okay.
Thank you very much, everyone. Now, I don't see any other questions or comments, so we will now go through some questions that we prepared via Mentimeter just to get your views and feedback on a couple of things as well. So I will share my screen very quickly now. So first and foremost, this bit here. So please take a moment to, you can either use your phones and scan the QR code, or go to menti.com and enter this particular number when you join, and it will take you to the first slide of the presentation. And I will also share a quick link in the chat for those of you that want to click directly. I think if you use this link that I just shared, it should take you to the presentation. I will now, not yet. I see people already answering, so that's great. But I will very quickly now show you the screen, just so you can get also a view of what's happening. Just give me a moment to switch up things. Yeah. So, I'm curious also to get, so for the first question, you can see my screen. Among the principles of LUMEN Data Mesh, which one matters most to you? Decentralization received one answer. Cross-domain discovery is the most popular one, and modularity comes third. Julien, does this surprise you at all? I think from my view, I mean, we emphasized the cross-domain discovery, didn't we, a lot today? So it's not surprising, as it were.
No, I agree. I fully agree with you. I'm also interested to know if the community autonomy approach is something important for the community. Of course, because I believe in it, we believe in it, but I'm also interested to get some concrete feedback regarding this community autonomy principle, and also to emphasize this one also.
Maybe this is something that we could ask when we sent out the materials to everyone. Maybe we could just do a quick feedback form where we can also maybe integrate a couple of these questions that are not necessarily directly answered by this Mentimeter. So I will move to the next one. So what's a research question? And this is something that we put together with Julien. What's a research question you couldn't fully answer because the data lived in another community? So basically because you couldn't access from one place the data, such as like to create a use case like the one presented by Julien. It doesn't have to be, correct me if I'm wrong, Julien, the question doesn't have to be about the communities mentioned necessarily here. It can be any kind of research question, right? For any
yes, I confirm. Yes, exactly. It's an open question also regarding this scope.
So, for example, a question that I see regularly now being asked in many different contexts, Julien, is about funding metadata. So I think there's a bit of fragmentation between how funders fund research, and when we see publications or research data or anything that is shared publicly, it's not easy to link it back or at least to get like an overview of how funding, of where the funding comes from. I think funding metadata can be a big issue. So for example, if I wanted to study in Greece, where does research funding goes? I mean, in which topics, which kind of issues are being addressed in Greece from this perspective in like social sciences, any related to the SDGs goals, the Sustainable Development Goals, I'm not sure I would be able to get this data. And I think you need a cross-domain kind of approach for this, because you need the research questions to start from a specific domain. So for example, I'm interested in research publications that address certain topics, okay? But at the same time, I want to know which funders, how funders are funding this kind of research. And unless you have the funding information, you cannot get the answer. So at least that's something that's been on my mind for a long time, inspired by an article that I saw on specific countries that are focusing more on research that is being published in Western journals, academic journals, rather than focusing on research that is actually pertinent to their countries because, of how the publication system works in academia. Just to share my own perspective on this a little bit. We have 2 comments. I cannot think of a case like this, but I can see the value of cross-domain search in my research, which always takes an interdisciplinary approach. Thank you. Metadata is key. Yes, I agree. Sometimes we miss the context when we aim to use data from other domains. And yeah, I want to complicate this and say, even if you get the even if you get the data, sometimes it's so hard to understand what the data is for, how to reuse them, what was the original context that they were used. Until now, no cases like this come in my mind. Interdisciplinarity is the main guide in my research.
If I may, Fotis.
Yes.
Maybe first of all, regarding your previous comment, I agree with you. It could be a very interesting cross-domain use case to explore. Also because we have this kind of object, which are the projects. It's not easy to explore this kind of object regarding the landscape, because it depends really of it's based on different standards to explain what are the funding, what is the project, etc. But anyway, some communities or some data sources, some data products are related to this kind of metadata, at least, or this kind of object. So it could be, but of course it depends on the volume or the graph itself. If we have other connected object research, scientific resources, but it's not only scientific resources, it's also some context entities. But yeah, so I agree with you. Regarding the comment about metadata, I fully agree also. It could be it's an important concern we have, especially because, as the comment mentioned, sometimes we miss the context. And it's also why we are trying to extract some key dimension to rebuild more or less the context, or to understand better the context. And depending on the community, it could be more complicated. We have this important discussion also with math, where we could miss this context, of course, regarding this exploration. We have some perspective to improve it. Maybe we could use the full text also, if it's possible, if we can do it, if this full text is opened. It's an approach. Of course, in terms of compute, it's a huge improvement to target, but it's a perspective to get more context, especially because we are in a vector-based approach, so we can add more details to better clusterize. So yeah, just to comment regarding the 2 previous points.
Thank you very much. And I just want you to see also the how does language use online reflect political, how does language used online, I think maybe right, reflect political ideology, linguistics, NLP, natural language processing, artificial intelligence community, has text and language data, political science, has ideology, service, and voting behavior. Very interesting. I think, yes, that's a very good research question, if I may. Due to the privacy and technical incompatibility, the two different communities of data are rarely merged, making in-depth analysis of causal relationships impossible. Thoughts on this? The last comment?
Now, of course, a very interesting comment, and for the moment, it's not an aspect explored, so that's why we have to think about it. And thanks again for the point.
Okay, I will move on to the next slide, just in the interest of time, also to just here is a question that this presentation has talked about data products a lot, data. So we are interested in what data can be included in a platform like Lumen. So we gave the example about maths earlier from the chat, and the question is, what kind of cross-domain data would be most valuable for you to discover, e.g., for example, publications, vocabularies, ontologies, datasets, models, formulae, and we used examples from the 4 communities that we have in the project, as I said. And for example, for me, as I said before, I mean, funding metadata would be most valuable for me to discover, but also somehow to connect it with research, let's say, objectives, as I said, with the SDG, maybe indicators to connect those two. Are there any other data that would be valuable for you to discover that we have not mentioned, we have not thought of? Publications, datasets, visualizations of data, research summaries, methodological materials, method documentation, yes, registration deviations from pre-registered protocol. This is very interesting and very open science related for me. Multimedia outputs, yes. Datasets plus models. Application task domain, yes. Vocabularies, very often we don't need to create new ones, rather find the right already existence. That's very true. Is anything here that stands out to any of the colleagues that would like to comment on?
No, for me, it's also very interesting. We are trying to cover the new standard EOS profiles, at least all this research, the scientific resources. So you mentioned here vocabularies, ontologies, taxonomies. We are talking about semantic artifact, but this is a key object for us, a very important one. Of course, we have the other profiles, the publication, dataset, all these scientific resources, and also the author profiles. Some methodological materials, the software. We are also the application, which is something a little bit different than software. Application. Okay, the last one is about application, but we have also software in the source code. But we have also sometimes the application, I mean the hosted, the deployable application, more regarding the infrastructure aspect. We are working on also on this kind of things, but we don't have, for the moment, we have not a delimited scope regarding this type. Of course, we still have to discuss it also because, as I already mentioned, the rule book regarding this federation is not yet started, but we are working on it. And this point is also an important topic to discuss about regarding the boundaries of this exploration.
Do you think, when I look at these answers, I'm also thinking about humanities. Do you think humanities cultural artifacts, for example, Europeana, right? Massive digital library of a lot of cultural artifacts. Would that be relevant in any case with Lumen, like looking more at the past and to do if you want to do historical research or cultural kind of analysis of cultures throughout the history based on artifacts, as I said. Would that be something? Because I see a lot of things that brings me to mind, like more. This was inspired by the other multimedia outputs comment, and I'm just thinking if that's also possible to be part of Lumen in the future.
So yes, for me, the intuitive answer is of course. But it's also an opportunity for me to highlight something I have not mentioned for the moment, a challenge for us, which is the overlap and the deduplication side, because due to the flexibility of this exploration, of course, sometimes we can find the same resources, the same artifact, the same, even if it's different domains. So we have a lot of work also regarding this deduplication aspect, and also because deduplication doesn't just mean the same ID. It could be an ID close to this one, or maybe sometimes it could be also, for example, we discussed with the mathematics community regarding a specific case, which is, okay, so we have a publication, but we have also the software developed for this publication. And according to this community, this is also a duplicate. But even if it's a software and a publication, so even if it's not the same nature, we have some challenge. So just to mention it, of course, for me, is exactly the objective, extend the federation with this kind of important side, as you mentioned, for this, but it's also some concern for us regarding the consequences.
I can imagine. Yeah, I don't think there are straightforward answers always. I also move to the next slide for again, moving forward. Which part of the Lumen Data Mesh feels most relevant to your work? We have 4 options plus still not sure, of course. Sometimes answers are not very obvious. So first one, we have data products, making your collections findable across the federation while keeping them where they are, meaning you keep control and ownership of your data in your own space. And with what Julien demonstrated, you get to publish them in the federation. Data contracts, formalizing ownership, access policies, and quality expectations. This is like the more, let's say, administrative part maybe of the process. The meta search across domains, of course, I think everyone would like to benefit from this kind of discovery potential. And it looks like the most popular one. And of course, the federated community-owned approach as a whole. A few answers at least demonstrate a sense of direction here. And I think it aligns a little bit with the message. I think everyone has been, it's been very positive to listen about the meta search today. So thank you very much, Julien, for this. I will move on to the next slide. How ready is your community to expose its resources as data products in a federation like Lumen? We offer 5 options, and I think the idea here is to just, based on your instinct, because I think this is also maybe like a broader discussion, based on your instinct, whether you feel something like that could easily happen. Julien, generally, if you put this question to 100 people, to 200 people, what could be, based on your experience with data mesh and with the discussion that you've had, what would be your gut response if you thought, if you put this survey out to 200 people, what would you expect people to say in this?
Okay, regarding this question, of course, we discussed initially with the communities when we discussed for the first time this meta search, this data mesh approach. It was very, very unclear for everybody. And it's also why the first year of this project was mainly focused on the definition, on what we are doing to clarify what is out of scope, and exactly what I have presented to you just before. So I guess now it's easier, first of all, for me to explain what we are doing, and then also for the community to understand better the expectation and the benefits. So I would say, based on my current meeting I have with each community, it's better for them to understand what are the consequences, or also the benefits, as I have said. And I have collected almost only positive feedback regarding this initiative, including the external communities. So that's why it's my message is only to say it's not easy to explain sometimes, because, as you know, I haven't introduced data product, data contract, but what is a data product in our context? So this is a first challenge. Then when it's clear, I guess it's better for the communities to commit.
Amazing, thank you. And you can see here that the majority says somewhat ready, but we also have a couple of people that do not feel confident that this can happen immediately. So I will move to the next slide. What would most likely hold your community back from joining the LUMEN Data Mesh? So it's more or less a continuation of the previous question by asking you on a scale whether you feel ready, but I think the couple of people would say no, but even those who said somewhat ready could potentially answer this question. I think we enable up to 2 choices just to give you the opportunity to also choose between options, but not necessarily all of them, just to limit. So effort to describe and maintain data products, governance questions inside the community, and concerns about data quality in other domains, unclear the benefits for our searches, lack of incentives or recognitions for sharing, and of course the EOSC integration. So so far we have primarily responses related to the effort to describe and maintain data products. Julien, how difficult it is to maintain a data product after you describe it, or let's say you create the first instantiation of it?
For me, it's a minimal effort. At least you have to maintain it. This is the effort. I mean, if you want to update some metadata regarding this data product, you have to do it. This is what I mean. But as you have seen, it's something very light. It's just a JSON file. So you just have to translate some update from your community to this document. This is more or less the idea. And of course, sometimes it's more complicated than that, but this is the philosophy behind. The minimal effort to be federated. We are working on this. Of course, it's never easy, especially if we want to be accurate and relevant, but this is the idea.
Thank you.
Sorry for this, just to conclude about this point. This is a core principle of our approach. I mean, the first one or the second one, to be the minimal effort.
So yeah, exactly. So I see it also because I see 4 responses there and 3 for EOSC as the 2 dominant ones. I see like at the beginning of this process, that's where the emphasis is. I think once you go through that first hurdle, perhaps opportunities to join it will be easier. And of course, EOSC is a big always question. How can this be integrated with EOSC? Because EOSC has so many now, I think, in my view, resources, right? A lot of things have been developed under the umbrella of EOSC, and I think finding our place in the EOSC landscape will be a key piece of our work in the next 18 months, at least for me. I don't know if you agree or not.
I agree, and Yeah, so of course, there is an effort to describe the data product. And for us, the main step was to explain what is a data product and to find a standard to describe it. I have already mentioned the data product ontology. Now, the objective is to link this initiative with EOSC, especially because I have mentioned several times the EOSC profiles, the scientific resources, but they are already linked to this EOSC profile standard. So now we have to clarify exactly what could be the link, and we have already an idea to do it. We believe that if we believe in this idea to say, okay, this federation, the data mesh, could be also a facilitator for a local community to be as compliant regarding this data product approach. I mean, it could be also a way to facilitate the EOS integration regarding the data mesh if we are able to connect this mesh to the EOS federation, and we have some idea to do it. But it's a it's not easy. We have to clarify a lot of things before, but it's clearly something we have in mind, and we want to address it during the rest of the project.
Thank you. I think there is a mistake on the title of this. It's meant to be so this is which I'm really sorry about that. This is my mistake. The question effectively is which aspect of the data mesh could we promote more in the next 18 months? And I was because the question when I was creating the slides, I copied another slide and I did not change the question here, but I did add the answers. So this question was about mostly in terms of, because we talked about a few things and you saw that there are a lot of things in development within Lumen, and it was a bit of an interesting discussion for me would be what should we promote more? What should be maybe the future webinars, or we have blog posts, we have podcasts, we have so many different kind of solutions to use for dissemination purposes. And that was the idea behind that question, but I think I sort of ruined it by not asking the right thing at the top. So I will move on, and perhaps we can include this question also in our feedback form just to get it, just to get your feedback on this. So and that would be the last question, and we will close because in 4 minutes also it's time. So in one sentence or one word or a couple of thoughts, what will you take away from today's session? What would be you know, maybe one thing that stood out to you from today's discussion? I know we are less than when we started, but even those who stayed with us until the end, if you can just share a thought. Yes, interesting cross-domain use cases. Thank you, Julien, for presenting them. Interoperability matters, so absolutely. Very happy to read that. Cross-domain search in my daily workflow. Power of data mesh. That's data mesh, I guess. Mesh. I was not familiar with data mesh, to be honest, before Lumen. So it's been a process also for me to really familiarize myself with this approach, Julien, to be honest with you. And it has a lot of potential, but it does require for communities to work together, I think, at the very end, doesn't it? In terms of, and we are looking at you know, with the best intentions across communities and researchers for collaboration here, effectively, which is at the core of open science as well. But for me, it's like it holds potential as long as we keep engaging the right communities, the communities in the right ways. And I will support the kind of message that I see in the middle of the screen. Big hope for data mesh. Hopefully, it can be extended to more communities. I really want to see the potential of this with even more data products in it. I think that would be a real kind of test of the of the potential users of data mesh. I think people, some of the responses, at least most of the responses, seem positive. If anything, still you need, further feedback on that. As I said, we will get in touch with you. We will share the slides. If there's anything else that you would like to ask about the data mesh, we are always available. And about the project more broadly. Of course, we are open to discussions. I will move very quickly to my slides to say that there is one more thing that we want to that I want to show everyone, which is effectively our next webinar, which is co-hosted with Atrium. The title is Making Meaningful Data Work Together, exploring interoperability, semantic artifacts, and scalable solutions with Atrium and Lumen. And correct me if I'm wrong, this will focus on the Loomis, Julien and Carol. Yes, Carol also made that connection with Atrium project. So you will see another, thank you. You will see another kind of major development within Lumen. The link for the registration has been provided already by Carol in the chat, and also Leah provided our short video about understanding the Lumen Data Mesh. We provided, as I said, this kind of dissemination activities that we are using to familiarize everyone with the data mesh and our activities in the project. So that would be all. I think I encourage anyone to subscribe to our newsletter. Yeah, that's all for us today. I think, Leah, you can stop the recording here.